Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How are you doing today on this Friday?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. The Big East tournament's going on right now. St. John's versus UConn. Hoping St. John's pulls it out, but it's not looking good right now. Down 44-37. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of NFL offseason news. A couple shocking signings. A couple, I would say, bad decision makings from one particular team. But let's start with confusing news, because a lot of people thought Justin Fields is this phenomenal talent that would be sought after, as much as Adam Schefter called him a first-round pick. But now we're seeing that it looks like his trade market is really drying up. No real buyers, at least at this current time. Justin Fields is still on the Chicago Bears, and it's not looking great. I want to know, which team do you think Justin Fields will be on by the time Week 1 rolls around in September?
Abilities: Jets, Broncos, or Steelers. And I make my arguments for each. The Jets, and I think this is unlikely, that Rodgers gets into politics. I can't, that is like out of left field. I don't know where that's coming from. Who would have thought Aaron Rodgers would be running for vice president of the United States? I mean, what his qualifications are? He can throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah,
that's.
Well, no, hey, that's something he could take deep shots, and sometimes it hits. This could be another one of those deep shots.
I guess so. But that was odd. I never would have anticipated something like that happening. But if he decides to pursue that, right now the Jets have Tyrod Taylor as their backup. They're going to be getting rid of Zach Wilson. So I think that Justin Fields is a high possibility. And even if Rodgers stays, they may go for him to play behind or watch Rodgers play for a year, because Rodgers not going to play too many more years. I don't know. Maybe Rodgers thinks he's going to play 3 or 4 more years. It's hard to know. Nobody knows for sure. But Justin Fields did play with Garrett Wilson when he was at Ohio State. So I think that's a possibility. The Broncos, I think that they're in a tough spot because they have so much dead cap money. They have Jared Stidham, who played okay, I guess, in the 2 games that he started this year for them. The last 2 games of the season, he had about 500 yards passing, and 60% completion percentage. So wasn't bad. They have the number 12 pick. They're not going to get a great quarterback at number 12. That's too far down the line. So they might take a look, because it looks like Justin Fields is going to be able to be had for not too much. But I do think the most likely spot for him is at the Steelers still. And I think he'll play behind Russell Wilson for a year to watch. And then depending on how well Russell Wilson does, his second year is going to be a low salary too, because he's still getting paid big time from the Broncos. So he could be there 2 years. He's 35 years old, and I thought his play was pretty good last year. Actually, he was a dink and dunker, as you pointed out. So he didn't have the kind of interceptions that he might have gotten if he was throwing the ball down the field more. But they did get 7 wins, and his stats were okay. He made some turnovers that he shouldn't have, and lost the game to the Jets there, but maybe he should have won. But now he's with the Steelers. He's going to probably be the starter, and they don't have a backup now, but since Mason Rudolph went to the Titans, and they just traded Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, which surprised me a little bit. So I think the Steelers are the likely landing spot, with Justin Fields being a backup for a year.
Well, and
that's my analysis, Nate. Tell me what you think.
Well, from the very beginning, when it's, as soon as the Justin Fields could be traded, Caleb Williams and everything happened, I immediately said Justin Fields 3rd-round pick, and I'm sure some of you, if not most of you, if not all of you, have saw that short where I talked about that, and you may have seen that people did not necessarily agree and called that a horrible take. How about now? Justin Fields is not wanted really at all. It seems like the Raiders have a little bit of interest, but at this point, they have Gardner Minshew and they have Aiden O'Connell, and they're actually in a position to draft a quarterback if they want to take that route for this season. Now, I think Gardner Minshew is probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks or just players in the NFL right now. However, they still have that option, and they have the option to draft a quarterback, or they can stick with Gardner Minshew. But at this current moment, it looks like Justin Fields will be a backup. And I'm sure not by the wishes of the Bears, he may actually be able to stay in Chicago, but because nobody wants him. Not a single team has pursued Justin Fields. Now, it could be that their GM, I believe his name is Ryan Poles, could be asking for way too much. Second-round pick, first-round pick, high third. But it doesn't seem, and by the way, I know they're doing their due diligence on Caleb Williams, but if you really have to decide between Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, I think there's already something wrong, because you could tell Justin Fields is not the quarterback that Caleb Williams is. Caleb Williams has a much better arm, he's a much better decision maker, and while he's not a runner that Justin Fields is, I think he has enough athleticism to at least be comparable to Justin Fields, at least in the production level. But I saw this coming immediately. If a guy goes 40 touchdowns and 30 picks with 38 fumbles, it's not good. It's just not good. And these are the stats. The fourth quarter stats, I mentioned them before. They're very, very ugly. This past season, last in completion percentage in the fourth quarter, last in passing yards, the most turnovers in the NFL, and also last in passer rating, all in the fourth quarter. He's just not a good quarterback as the game goes on. So what team would want that? What team would want a quarterback who makes self-inflicting wounds? It's not that he doesn't have talent and can't throw the ball to him because of no separation. If you have 38 fumbles, well, you might be able to blame your offensive line. If you look at his time to throw, he had the most in the NFL. Now, the passing protection wasn't great, and the wide receivers, they weren't plentiful like they are maybe this season with Caleb Williams. But those fumbles are self-inflicting wounds. At least. Daniel Jones' offensive line was probably the worst in the NFL this past season. However, the fumbles have not been a problem since his rookie year. He got progressively better with this fumbling issue. And lo and behold, Justin Fields can't. His offensive line got better this season. Now that they went 7-10 this season. And yet we can blame his offensive line. But these self-inflicting wounds also with the supply and demand, everybody signing backup quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo found a job today. Yeah, he's not starting, though. He's not starting, but he does have a job.
He does have a job. I think you said he would not have a job.
I'm sure I did say that.
Yeah.
However, we see a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Sam Darnold got a job. Even Nathan Peterman got a job.
I can't believe that guy is still in the league. With all the other quarterbacks around, I think even Zach Wilson is better than Nathan Peterman.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But the fact that Justin Fields hasn't been moved yet, and now it looks like the market is basically zero. The Patriots still have a chance, but it looks like, if the Vikings do what they did today and then actually trade to a top 3 pick, there could be a possibility that the Patriots go out and get Justin Fields maybe now I might downgrade it from a 3rd to a 4th.
Yeah.
I may take that route. I might truly believe Justin Fields is now worth a 4th round pick.
Yeah, I think that the reason that I think there's a lot of interest in Justin Fields, okay?
There should be.
And there is. I believe there
be.
is. I think the teams aren't saying anything about it now because they want to get much closer to the draft.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because the longer they wait, the more the value for Justin Fields drops and the cheaper you can get him. So I think most teams are thinking we're really interested in Justin Fields at a 4th round pick, right?
Right.
Maybe a 3rd, but mostly a 4th or a 5th, right? He's a steal at a 5th round pick, I think.
I would agree.
Right?
I would agree.
At a 5th round pick, he's a steal. So they're waiting. They're just lying low, and they're waiting to see what happens. And then there's going to be action right around the draft. That's my thought. And maybe the Giants are in there too. Right?
Supposedly now the Giants, there's a report now that the Giants are all in on J.J. McCarthy for their draft pick at number 6. Don't know if I love that just because I'm not a massive J.J. McCarthy fan, but they do need a quarterback, but they also need an offensive line. They need to build the offensive line, although they're getting pieces. They still need a quarterback. They still need weapons. Once again, their tight end may be retiring, but we'll have to wait and see what the Giants do because their entire situation, it's such a mess. They also need a running back, but we'll have to wait and see with the Giants, but this Bears situation, you know what? The Justin Fields fans, they may get their wish that the Bears keep Justin Fields, but not under the fact that they want to keep him. They just can't get rid of him. And obviously, you don't want to release a talent like Justin Fields. You could use him as a backup, maybe learn a thing or two from Caleb Williams if he can, although don't know. We don't know what it would look like to see Justin Fields, a veteran, learn from a rookie quarterback. We'll have to wait and see about that. It could be that Justin Fields teaches Caleb Williams a thing or two. Who knows? Zach Wilson was able to take that job, however, it was for a Hall of Fame quarterback. So this situation is very, very interesting because I just feel like Justin Fields is in a very bad situation because I seriously think the franchise has not helped him a lot. They did this year, and it looked a little bit better, but he definitely has not helped himself with low passing yards a game, a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions, the most fumbles since he entered the league. The fact that everybody's signing backup quarterbacks now. And if Justin Fields went up to Ryan Poles and say, I want to get out of here, he would be gone. Kenny Pickett did that today, and so we're going to see if...
Kenny Pickett went and said that he wanted to leave.
Right, because, Russ is not going to be giving up... Russ is not giving up that job anytime soon. I think Mike Tomlin's going to stick with him, but, yeah, if Justin Fields walks up to Ryan Poles and says, I'm done, get me out of here, I think he'll be gone very, very quickly. But supposedly they're doing their due diligence in the draft. Caleb Williams' pro day is coming up soon, so they're going to go to that. So we're going to have to wait and see. But this situation, I don't know. I said third-round pick. People say it's a horrible take. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's actually a fourth or a fifth. So we'll have to wait and see. But
I think there's huge interest in him if it gets down down those picks down that far. Yeah. There's going to be lots of interest.
And then you also have to think about his $25 million fifth-year option that you might have to give him as well, which that also could play into it. Honestly, the way quarterbacks
$45 million?
No, 25.
25, yeah.
Honestly, at that price, the way quarterbacks getting paid, if you do trade for him, so he's in his fourth year, and he has a lot of upside, give him that fifth-year option. I would, because clearly it worked. So I'd give him the fifth year. Then in the fifth year, if he maintains that level of success or doesn't have massive regression, there you go, Justin Fields. You got your long-term contract you were looking for. But sitting on the Bears bench, because I don't think the Bears are going to trade the first pick. Because at this point, it's like you're going to go out and get Marvin Harrison. But you're already getting you're getting talent around whoever's the quarterback from the Bears anyway. So this situation's interesting. Chicago, they've never gotten quarterback right. And I'm afraid if they either trade the first round pick or they do something weird with Fields or even just with Caleb Williams, that it's just going to be a rinse and repeat process of failed quarterback after failed quarterback just over and over again.
And, if they do bring Caleb Williams in and they trade Justin Fields, don't they need a veteran backup for Caleb Williams
you would think.
To kind of help him learn the ropes?
Yeah.
I would think that wouldn't be too fair to bring him in with nobody there to mentor him. That's going to be tough. Say, okay, you've got the starting job. You've never played in the NFL before. There's no other quarterback on our roster that's ever played in the NFL except that guy. What was that guy?
Tyler Bagent, I believe his name is. Yeah.
Bagent, yeah. Well, he's had a few games, but he's no veteran.
He's not going to come in and be like, "Yo, this is how you win games." Although he did win a couple, so
yeah.
But he's not like this is how you create long sustained success because he's never had a significant playing career. So the Bears, I feel like they're setting whatever quarterback plays for them up for failure again. Now they're getting a bunch of pieces. But it's just, it's like the Jets. They can do a lot of things right, but in the grand scheme of things, they're still the Jets. Something's bound to go wrong. With Chicago, I feel like it's the exact same thing with a quarterback. Something weird is going to happen, whether it's Fields, Caleb Williams, or whoever is their quarterback. Something weird's going to happen. Let's talk about America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, because it's not looking great. After Jerry Jones made his all-in comment, which apparently Stephen Jones talked about the fact that it's just about keeping the core group together and not spending money on talent during the free agency period. The Cowboys were the only team to not make a move during the NFL's tampering period and only signing a couple people, including Eric Kendricks, a linebacker, Jordan Lewis, a cornerback, C.J. Goodwin, another defensive back, and then Trent Siege, I believe his name is, a long snapper. Now, today, they actually released Michael Gallup, their wide receiver, and their long-term linebacker, Leighton Vander Esch. So they're getting rid of some veteran pieces here that were, I didn't love Michael Gallup's production, but Leighton Vander Esch is a pretty decent piece to be able to give up on the defensive side. So I feel like they're regressing from last season, but I want to know your opinion. How big of a mistake is it for the Cowboys to remain pretty silent during the free agency period thus far?
Well, I think they have three big problems. why they haven't done more in free agency. And those three problems are C.D. Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
They want to hang on to all three. All three are going to have huge contracts to keep them. And that kind of boxes them out in terms of going out and getting free agents who also need big money. They did okay with Eric Kendricks. He'd had a really good year with the Chargers last year, 117 tackles and 3.5 sacks. And he's even though he's 32 years old, I think he still seems to have a lot of gas in the tank. So that was a good pickup for them. But they were interested in Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. Both are gone. They ain't gonna have them, and they lost Tony Pollard. So they don't have any running back now.
They have 5'5" or 5'6" Deuce Vaughn. As their starting running back.
Well, they're going to have to do something about that. And who are they going to get? They're going to have to draft a running back.
You're probably going to have to
probably have to draft a running back. So I just think they're hamstrung financially in terms of being able to do a lot in free agency if they're adamant about hanging on to these three players. And you can understand why they want to hang on to them. They've all done quite well, although Dak Prescott doesn't do well in the playoffs. So, and Mike McCarthy, he's on a watch list here.
Absolutely.
And I think things are a little unsettled in Dallas. I think they thought they were going to be all in, but now they took a look, and the reality of the situation is they can't be all in.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Well, we know what a major problem is, and you mentioned it. They had an opportunity to go get a bunch of really good running backs, whether it be, at this point, Aaron Jones, you could have got Josh Jacobs, you could have gotten Austin Eckler.
Aaron Jones went for, $8 million?
The Packers got rid of him and took a dead cap hit in order to get rid of him. It
makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense.
No understanding of that. That guy's a dedicated player,
yeah.
Played very well for them, came up big in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they got rid of him. There got to be something else going on there. I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure. But no, they had an opportunity to sign a bunch of really, really good, capable running backs. A.J. Dillon got signed back with the Packers. Joe Mixon was available. Derrick Henry obviously was available. That was the one that I thought Derrick Henry was signed with the Cowboys and they would pursue him. Zach Moss to the Bengals. There were a lot of good running backs that were out there. Saquon Barkley, you could go through the entire list and say the Cowboys could have and should have gone for it. And I think running back will be a massive position that they need to get right. Because throughout Dak Prescott's career, the running game has benefited him in a massive amount. These numbers, when the Cowboys rush for 30 or more times, Dak Prescott's 53-7. Less than 30 rushing attempts, he's 20-34. 100-plus rushing yards in the game, Dak's 64-17. And this one's crazy. When they rush for less than 100 rushing yards, he's 9-24. Single-digit wins. And now they have 5'6" Deuce Vaughn as their feature back, at least at this current moment. Now, can they go out and get a lesser tier running back just to say that he's our starter for the time being? Sure they can. But if you had the opportunity to get any one of probably the top 10 running backs that were available in the league just this past season, and they failed to do so because they want to remain kind of in cap, sanctuary, because right now, at this current moment, they have the least amount of cap space in the NFL. It's because they overspend on some players. Dak Prescott has a massive cap hit this season. He's playing out his last year of his contract. If he becomes another disappointment, I'm afraid that Jerry Jones is still going to re-sign him to a massive deal. But then it has to be who's out there for Jerry Jones to replace Dak Prescott with. It could be a rinse and repeat process of he wins 12, 13 games, gets to the playoff, wins maybe one playoff game, and then fails to get to the conference championship. So Dak's a massive hit. CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, they're going to get paid. They picked up Micah Parsons' fifth-year option. CeeDee Lamb's going to get a massive contract. So they're going to need to pay a few really key players. But I really think the Cowboys this season are going to have a massive regression. So a lot of people have their favorites right now to win the NFC East. I think it's been 20 years since they've had a repeat division winner. I'm saying the Eagles take over this conference. I'm saying the Eagles win. My guess is they're going to win 12, 13 games. Cowboys are probably going to win 10-11. I generally don't think it's going to get that close. Now, it could be that they draft and hit all their draft picks offensively, which they still need, an interior offensive line. They're okay on the tackles. I would say they definitely need a left guard and maybe another tackle, but
You got to do something at running back.
You have to do something at running back. There's
they
a
missed
couple
out.
nice
They
running
missed
backs.
out. They could have had Aaron Jones.
They could have. They very well could have and should have. And they should have gone for Aaron. The last time the Cowboys played, they saw Aaron Jones run the hell out of the ball against them. So you know what Aaron Jones could do to you. So you could have
Aaron
picked him up.
Jones is going to do against the Packers next year, man. I think he's going to burn them big time.
Probably.
I'm sure the Packers aren't happy. He wound up in the division. You know, I'm going to read up on that one. I don't understand why Aaron Jones was not retained by the Packers. There's got to be something there, something about money or something. But he went for a song.
One year, $7 million.
Yeah, under $8 million bucks, and $7 million.
Like I mentioned, the Packers took a cap hit to get rid of him. They could have had Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, which is, I think, a better version of AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. Were they going to have to pay him?
Were they going to have to pay him more to stay? I don't think so.
It makes no sense. That was one of the weirdest moves, I think, so far in free agency. But this one might be a crazier move because there was some breaking news today. Kenny Pickett is traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Philadelphia Eagles to back up Jalen Hurts. This is a crazy one. So the Eagles got Kenny Pickett and a 4th-round pick for 1/3 and 2 7th-round picks. We've seen a couple weird trades. Desmond Ridder got traded straight up for Rondale Moore to go over to the Cardinals. There's a lot of weird trades happening when it comes to quarterbacks and just a lot of strange moves. Mac Jones to the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of weird things are going on. But Kenny Pickett has now become a Philadelphia Eagle. I want to know, how did you think this move, what do you think of this move, Kenny Pickett to the Eagles? What's your reaction?
Surprised. Very surprised. Because I thought that there was going to be a competition between Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, and apparently you told me Kenny Pickett went to the Eagles and said, "I want out. I don't want any part of this." And they honored him and went to the Eagles. But why would the Eagles pick him up? I don't understand that either. I guess because he played in Pennsylvania. Something about that. I mean, probably the Philadelphia fans, the college fans follow Pittsburgh, I guess. I don't know. That's where he played, so in college. So I think it's odd. I don't think that Philadelphia's offense is built around a player like Kenny Pickett. He's like a drop back, hang around in the pocket, throw the ball. I don't see Jalen Hurts is more of a roll out, drop back, take a quick peek. If you don't see anything, roll out, run maybe. He runs quite a bit. So I was very surprised by this. I don't understand why this was done. The trade was a pick swap. The Steelers get the 98th pick and 2025 7th-round picks. So it's not like it was a high picks for the Steelers. The Eagles got Kenny Pickett. I don't know. I'm not sure how much value he has to them, and the 120th pick. So, kind of another odd trade that I'm surprised by.
Well, I think this could be a situation where we just saw Jalen Hurts play basically the entire season. At least it appeared this way, as injured or at least not 100%. So could this be, at least a cable quarterback? He started a number of games in the NFL, so he could be, an okay backup in case Jalen Hurts actually gets severely hurt or can't play 100%, so we're going to sit him on the bench for a little while. That's where I think it really comes from, is let's get a stable backup that can maybe run our offense if we really, really need him to. But supposedly this trade was due to the poor handling of when Russell Wilson came in, because Kenny Pickett was told, and it was in the media, that Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin are going to try to revive his career, fix him a little bit, because like I mentioned before on the show, he has the lowest touchdown percentage out of 300 quarterbacks in NFL history that have thrown 500 or more passes. Like, he can't score touchdowns whatsoever. So it was his poor handling, and then the fact that Russell Wilson was really deemed the starter and Kenny Pickett had no chance, so he said, I'm going to get up on out of here. But he hasn't really helped himself in his career. really bad turnover issues in his entire career. He's 13 touchdowns to 13 picks, 62% completion percentage. He averages about 2,200 passing yards per season. I don't exactly like you. I don't fully understand this move. Only if he's used as a backup piece in case Jalen Hurts ends up getting injured. That's really the only place where I could see where it makes a little bit of sense. But I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to go out there and get hurt. I hope not. He's a phenomenal talent. But this fit for this offense, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Kenny Pickett whatsoever. The styles are similar but not the same. I just feel like this is a wrong move for the Eagles. At least, the Steelers could have given him a shot. But they decided, you know what? Russ is going to be our starter. Kenny Pickett didn't take it very well and got himself shipped on out to Philadelphia.
Kenny Pickett to Devontae Parker. Does that sound like a winning combination?
I don't think that he'll even complete a pass because Devontae Parker can't separate. So, I mean, it's not going to be good whatsoever. But
the Eagles still have Brown, is there?
A.J. Brown, yeah.
A.J. Brown, right? And the Smith, right?
Devontae Smith, yeah. Also, Dallas Goedert, tight end. They lost Jason Kelsey. They picked up Saquon. Like, the offense should be better. It should be better. Jalen Hurts just... I seriously think we got to look at Jalen Hurts a little bit differently. He didn't look very good this year. If he's healthy, right? Because we saw him limp to the sideline a couple times. If he's healthy, which he should be at the beginning of the season, and still doesn't perform very well offensively... I think there should be a lot of discussion, not about getting rid of Jalen Hurts, but was it a mistake to give him that massive contract so early? Because, yes, he did make it to one Super Bowl, but we just saw that entire team fall apart, completely fall apart, second half of the season. So, and it could be their hard schedule. They play like 5 straight incredibly difficult games, but we've seen like Baker Mayfield look like, I'm not going to call him a Hall of Fame quarterback, but at least all pro level against this Eagles team. Like, they just took him to the cleaners. Was it 32-9? That's bad. The offense couldn't do anything against the Bucs defense that was ranked, I believe, dead last in the past. Couldn't do anything.
The Eagles will be better. And
they should be.
Because I don't think Dallas is going to be better.
I think Dallas is going to regress.
Yeah.
Because you had to get rid of
the Giants are going to be poor.
Probably. And then Commanders could be interesting.
Commanders,
they
I don't think
got
they're
rid of
gonna
Sam
have much.
Howell.
Who did he go to?
Seahawks.
The Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah.
Wow.
So that they're going to draft a quarterback. They just got off of a young guy who, for a decent part of the season, actually led the league in passing yards. So, free agency is such a weird time. A lot of weird moves that at the current moment don't make a lot of sense. Drew Lock to the Giants. There's something there where maybe Drew Lock gets the start. I don't think so, but supposedly Brian Daboll and Joe Shane privately are completely done with Daniel Jones, which, why'd you give him the contract?
I'm not sure why they go with Drew Lock.
I don't understand. Like, you saw his entire career, then you saw one better season. It wasn't great. It was better than what you've seen previously. You give him a $40 million a year contract because he played slightly better than his normal horrible self. And now you're regretting it literally a year later. It's bad franchise. But this Kenny Pickett move.
Surprising.
It doesn't make sense for Kenny Pickett. Because Russell Wilson, if he has a horrible season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, what are the Steelers going to do?
I think the Eagles took him because he played in Pennsylvania in college. I think he's well known, Kenny Pickett. And a lot of fans in Philadelphia probably root for Pittsburgh college-wise because who's the other big college team in Pennsylvania? That's it, Pitt, football.
Yep.
Right? So he's well known, and he played in Pittsburgh, which is also in Pennsylvania. So I think that's the main reason they picked him up there. No pun intended. So we'll see what happens there. I think the Eagles... It'll be interesting to see what they do to bolster their defense, right?
Yeah.
They have a new DC, and Patricia is gone, right? He went, where did he go? Do we know?
Well, he was just
Maybe he's not with a team yet, right? I think he left the Steelers. The Eagles. I'm not sure.
Well, for whatever reason, they decided to do an in-staff move mid-season, which made no sense.
That was crazy. That's when the defense started falling apart, actually.
Right. And then, he's no longer with the team. And I guarantee he's probably not going to get picked up whatsoever.
Really? You don't think so at all? Wow.
He hurt himself. He went head coach to OC to defensive advisor turned defensive play caller, and that just sequence, I think, killed his entire career. Because he was horrible as the head coach with the Lions, goes to the Patriots, becomes an offensive coordinator, then becomes a defensive advisor for Philly on their worst defensive year in a very long time, to now out of a job.
I predict he winds up with another NFL job somewhere.
Well, Mike Vrabel got picked up today.
Oh?
As the Cleveland Browns, some sort of advisor. I forget what the actual title is, but he at least has a job.
Yeah.
He has a job.
I wonder what their head coach thinks about that. Did he hire him, the head coach, or
Kevin
was he
Stefanski?
picked up? Did Stefanski hire him?
I'm sure everybody was involved in that. Yeah. That needed to be, whether it be Stefanski, GM, owner. You think a head coach is going to go out there and saying, "Oh yeah, I forget if it was a personnel advisor, it was some sort of advisor." So, I would say everybody's involved in that, unless Kevin Stefanski.
Probably, you know what? They probably don't have to pay him any money. They probably don't have to pay him any money to do that, right? Because he's still getting his salary from the Titans. I'm sure they've got an obligation to him when they fired him.
I'm not entirely sure, but Mike Vrabel, he at least got picked up. Belichick's still out there though. We're going to take a break, but coming up, the Vikings now have 2 first-round picks. Are they about to make a massive trade into the top 3? We'll talk about that. And also, it's the conclusion of the documentary, The Dynasty, New England Patriots, covering all the interesting downfall between Brady, Belichick, and Kraft, which I've said before, it shouldn't be called Dynasty. It's mistitled. We'll talk about the ending of that with episodes 9 and 8, which is the conclusion of that fractured relationship. All that right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. So we had a draft pick trade today. The Vikings have 2 first-round picks after trading back into the first round with the Houston Texans. They gave up 2 second-round picks as well as 1 sixth-round pick in order to get the 23rd overall pick in this year's draft. They hold the 11th and 23rd overall picks. It's interesting. It could be that they're building for mass quantity so they can get maybe a quarterback or a defensive piece or a quarterback and a wide receiver if they want to go that route, although I don't think they need to. But it looks like they could also be heading into the top 3 to fix a quarterback spot that is currently being held as their primary starter at the moment with Sam Darnold. I don't know. What do you think the Vikings are doing? Are they going to build up using numbers, or are they heading up into the top 3 to draft one of the top QBs in this year's draft?
I think they're headed to the top 3. I really do, because they've got to believe, they've got the talent to be able to win, given the offensive pieces that they have and some of their defensive players as well. I mean, they have Jordan Addison. They have Hawkinson, their tight end. They have Justin Jefferson. Now they've picked up Aaron Jones. They picked up the defensive end Green Guard, who is a great rusher. So they've got pieces that they should be able to win with. They just need, particularly on offense, they got to drop a quarterback in there that doesn't have to, they might go. It looks like they're going to go with the draft to get a quarterback. And can they get to the top 3 with an 11 or 23 and a round 4 number 108 to move up into the top 3? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure they can get to number 3. You think the Patriots are going to take that 11 and 23, round 4, or the Commanders give up the second round? It's really the Commanders are the one that you'd want to get to, right? Then you'd be in the top 2, and it would either be
Right.
Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels.
Right.
Because if you drop to 3, it's going to be Drake May probably, and he's I think there's some question marks about him. You'd have to get to the top 6 or probably the top 7 in order to get J.J. McCarthy or was there one other?
Michael Penix and Bo Nix would still be out there.
Bo Nix would be out there, but probably J.J. McCarthy would be
That's what people are saying.
the fourth quarterback that you would rank highly that probably could make an impact in the NFL for the longer term. So, yeah, I think they're going to try to move up. Whether they're going to be successful doing it remains to be seen.
I'm going to agree with you. I think this is not a move where it's strength in numbers. I think they're going to go swing for the fences and try to get that at least. I don't know. The Commanders not going to move. The fact that they moved Sam Howell kind of solidifies the fact that, yeah, they're going out to get a quarterback. Now, the question is, what quarterback will that be? It looks like all signs, it used to point all signs to Drake May. Now it looks like all signs point to Jaden Daniels. So, and when it comes to the 3rd overall pick, which is currently in possession by the New England Patriots, what's their move? It looks like they're done with free agency when it comes to, signing big-name guys, especially since Calvin Ridley decided to sign a massive contract with the Tennessee Titans for $23 million apiece. The Patriots, I believe I saw a report, the Patriots around the $20 to $21 million a year, but then the Titans came out of the blue and said, you know what, we'll give you $23 million. If they want to go out and get
4 years, $92 million with $50 million guaranteed.
I think it's a complete overpay. Complete overpay. Because the Titans team with Will Levis, he works the best under play action, and without Derrick Henry, don't know if that play action will be there. He had a low completion percentage. He had accuracy issues, turnover issues. He looked great in that first, 1 or 2 games, but you started to see some of his deficiencies the longer he played. But I think the Vikings are going to try their very best to get either Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. And my guess would be that the Patriots would entertain the idea if you give them either the 11th or the 23rd pick this year, another first-round pick. It could be the 11th and the 23rd pick this year, and maybe I would say a third-round pick the following year, or you might go one of the picks this year, then a third and a first next year. That's just an estimated trade. I don't think there'll be any players involved in the trade. If we're just going straight draft pick versus draft pick, that's my guess. But then it would be, what are the Patriots going to do with their draft pick? So just for the sake of the conversation, let's say they go out and get the 11th pick in the draft. So let's say it's the Patriots get the 11th pick and next year's first and next year's third-round pick, and then the Vikings can move up to that third spot. At 11, so if you look at the draft order right now, so we got Washington, Chicago, and then the Vikings. They would all draft quarterbacks. Then you have Arizona and the Chargers probably drafting wide receivers, especially with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They're all gone, so Quentin Johnston right now is your wide receiver 1. The Giants, they're probably going to go for quarterback just based on the reports. I don't think Drew Lock they're going to be looking at this year to really, make a lot of noise, and I think everybody understands that they're done with Daniel Jones. Tennessee, they're probably going offensive line. Atlanta, I think they're going defense, truthfully, because they just got Kirk Cousins. So I think the quarterback at number 8, it's no longer there. Then you have Chicago. They're probably going to get some sort of weapon offensively, or probably an offensive lineman. That's my guess. The Jets need an offensive line still. And then you have the Patriots at number 11. So you basically have to choose between, and let's say the Giants go quarterback, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. That's it. Now, in my opinion, I would go Bo Nix there. He spent a lot of time in college. He doesn't have massive injury concerns like Michael Penix does, and he looked pretty damn good last year. So if I'm the Patriots, I go out and get Bo Nix.
What draft pick?
That would be
now?
number 11. And then the Broncos, they are also an interesting team to potentially trade up. I don't think they will. Depends on what they give up.
I don't think they will because they have such financial constraints, right? And they only have the number 12 pick.
Right.
What are they going to? How are they going to trade up?
Well, it could be a similar thing with the Vikings. They're only one pick.
I don't think the Patriots would take just one first round, give up their third round pick for a lower first round, and not have much more this year.
You would give up the Broncos would have to figure something out if they're really interested. You know what? They may trade with the Giants. I don't know exactly what the Broncos do, but as soon as you're at number 11, you have two teams that are probably desperate for a quarterback, and one team that's definitely desperate for a quarterback right behind you. So it's not like you can maybe think about, what position could we get and this guy would be available. No. If you go and get a quarterback, then the Broncos are probably going to take the next best quarterback there, which would be either between Bo Nix or Michael Penix. And then the Raiders may be out of luck. So it's really about drafting who you love. And that's the big thing, too. If the Patriots are not invested in a Drake May, if they don't love any one of these top quarterbacks, that's where I think it could be interesting and the Patriots could really entertain this trade. Because the big thing is falling in love with a quarterback. You can't draft him necessarily just to draft him. Because when you draft players, you expect them to be there long term, especially if you're picking them high. I'm sure the Patriots, when they drafted Mac Jones 15, they thought this guy's going to be our at least 10-year long answer. Turned out not to be the case. But if you're at number 3, you're probably going to get a great talent. You expect him to be there for 10, 12 years at least. If not in love with Drake May, you would entertain that. Because if you trade back to 11, you're going to have, depending on who gets drafted, either J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix available to you. You have to be in love with who you're about to draft. Otherwise, it's with the Bears too. If they don't love Caleb Williams, they may trade the pick. You have to be in love with the quarterback you're drafting, and they could also shock the world by drafting Jaden Daniels or whoever else. But
I think for the Vikings to move up into the top 3, they have to give both the 11 and the 23rd. I think that's.
I don't think so.
I think
they can give
do.
a first round next year if they want.
Yeah, well those teams at the top there that are drafting in the top 3, they need multiple players. They need a lot of help. So
yeah,
they're going to want both those first round picks. I don't think they're going to want to wait.
Well, and if that's the case, then the Patriots have an opportunity to go out and get a pretty decent receiver at 23 too, because you draft one of the quarterbacks remaining, and they go out and get a pretty good wide receiver. Xavier Worthy, I'm sure, will be out there. You have a guy, Mitchell, who's also from Texas. He'll be out there.
I think it'll be Nix or Penix if you're going to have to wait till 11, because I think J.J. McCarthy will go sooner than that.
Yeah, because the Giants are right there. Now the Giants could go receiver, because
I think they're going to go quarterback.
If they're thinking about the future and they want the best transition off of Daniel Jones, they let Daniel Jones be Daniel Jones for this season, which we saw last year wasn't pretty. So you're probably going to have a top pick next year if that's the case. You can draft a wide receiver this year, then look at Quinn Ewers or I'm sure Shedeur Sanders if he gets in the draft next season. You have an opportunity to draft one of them next year.
Why do you think the Giants went and got Drew Lock then? It doesn't make sense to me.
Why
would they?
Daniel
they have
Jones,
number 6
we got a guy
pick.
right there.
They can draft one of the good quarterbacks at number 6.
They can.
And if they just let Daniel Jones play out the string, then the young guy watches for a year, and then he's in there. I don't understand why they went and got Drew Lock. To me, Drew Lock is not the answer for any franchise.
Well, I mean, he did go out and beat he beat the Eagles, was it, when he was with the Seahawks?
Yeah.
He had a couple nice moments, but I'm not saying he's a franchise guy.
Broncos gave him a chance, and he didn't do much for them. They got rid of him.
But we see how the Broncos do with quarterbacks.
This will be his third team.
We see what the Broncos do to quarterbacks since Peyton Manning. Not great. Hasn't been great.
Yeah, well, that would be Drew Lock was one of them.
That is true. That is very true. I think that could be a situation where it's like, he won't be our long-term answer, but he will be our answer if it's between you and Drew Lock for Daniel Jones. It could be let's get it together. We're going to try to build around you, But if you fall through, we got Drew Lock waiting in the wings to take over your spot, at least for the season. Or if they draft a quarterback, that quarterback. The Giants, they need a few pieces.
They need a lot, I think. I don't see them doing much this year, man. I think
you need
Brian
to replace Xavier
Dable,
McKinney. You need
I think
a running
Brian
back, you need a
Dable's
receiver.
job is at risk.
No.
I do.
don't think so.
I think it
I don't
is.
think so.
I think if they start out 0-5, look out. I think he's going to be a casualty. I really think so.
It's not his fault. You're saying it's Brian Dable's fault that Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito could run that offense better than their $40 million quarterback can. I put a lot of that on Daniel Jones.
He's had a lot of input into. I'm sure he has some input into who they draft and who they retain, what contracts they give. I think he probably has some input in there, and I just see they lost. They lost their best player in Saquon Barkley. They didn't even try to sign him, and Daniel Jones looks like a bust.
He is.
On defense, maybe they're okay on defense. I mean, they
best
picked
defensive
up
line in the NFL.
Yeah,
I'm still sticking with that until I see differently.
They're going to have to play like the Patriots tried to play last year and keep the other team to a very low score and try to run the clock out. I just don't. That doesn't seem to be a winning strategy. Bill Belichick can't do it. One of the best defensive minds ever. Then I don't think the Giants, who lost their defensive coordinator, who resigned in anger, it just doesn't look like. I think the Giants look like they're in trouble to me.
Oh, 100% they're in trouble. They've been a very bad franchise basically since Eli Manning left. Even in the last few years. 2016 was their last reputable season where they made the playoffs, and then Odell had that boat trip, and people blame Odell for that playoff loss. But you know what? It really tells you something when we have a veteran who can't stay healthy and an undrafted rookie run an offense better than your $40 million quarterback. You can't put that on Dable. Unless Tyrod Taylor was horrible. Mm-hmm. If Tommy DeVito couldn't run the offense better. And then obviously Daniel Jones was abysmal last season. If all of those quarterbacks play poorly, then I would say, okay, something's wrong there. But the fact that Taylor and DeVito can run that offense better with the same offensive line, same list of weapons, and they look better.
I think their offensive
That's an
line,
indictment on Daniel Jones.
I think their offensive line improved some as the year went on, though. It just started out horrible.
Well, I mean, you're playing the Cowboys week 1 with that defense, Micah Parsons and the Dexter Lawrence and everybody, with Trayvon Diggs intercepting people left and right. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. And your bad offensive line just to begin with. And then add on top of that expectations for Daniel Jones to perform. I'm not saying set up for failure, but wasn't good whatsoever. Let's get into this one. Let's get into the final topic. So episodes 9 and 10 of the Patriots documentary, The Dynasty, which I still think is not the right title for this because it doesn't really show, the dynasty. It more shows a fractured relationship between Belichick, Kraft, and Brady. The final 2 episodes have finally come out, and it really showcases how the Patriots dynasty ended when it comes to the relationships between the top 3 players in probably the Patriots' history, their entire franchise's history. We saw the ending. Belichick, obviously, there was an opportunity for him to comment on why Malcolm Butler got benched. No surprise. Didn't give any answer, really. Didn't allude to anything. And supposedly Robert Kraft came out, or he said it in the documentary that something, apparently what he was told is that it was a personal thing between Butler and Belichick. So so far that's the best we've got. It's personal between them two. That's the reason why Belichick decided to bench Malcolm Butler, who the notorious numbers, 98% of the defensive snaps. It was the whole spiel. Probably still one of the biggest question marks in at least Patriots history, if not NFL history, why Malcolm Butler was benched. But there was a lot of good quotes from Brady. Brady was far more honest and open than I thought he would be. But I think it was pretty good overall, the series. A lot of people hate it. I want to know, what was your reaction from episodes 9 and 10, and how about just your overall opinion between episodes 1 through 10, just about the entire documentary?
Yeah, I think you're right. The title was wrong. It shouldn't have been called Dynasty. I think it should have been called Let's Bash Bill. I think that would have been a better title for the documentary. I mean, they creamed him in episodes 8 and 9, right? I mean, they led up to the creaming him in 8 and 9 with all the players saying how badly Belichick treated Brady, and how disrespectful he was of him. They kept winning Super Bowls. Let's not forget that. And the players always seemed very happy when they won the Super Bowl, and they were all hugging one another. And Belichick gave all the credit to the players when they did win the Super Bowl. So if it's a formula for winning the Super Bowl, it's pretty tough to complain about it, right? When you do win, Brady won 3 Super Bowls in 6 years there at the end, right? Not bad. So, and he even said at the very end, he said, people have the personalities clash, and it's not uncommon, and we don't always agree, but it was, in his words, it was perfect. He said it was perfect, right? So he obviously had mixed feelings, because I think he almost cried there at the end.
Oh, he was getting emotional. 100%.
He was getting emotional. And I do think that the way they opened up episode 8 with Trump, and Belichick writing a letter to Trump, which Trump read at the New Hampshire, just before the election in New Hampshire. And the players were all over Belichick for that, because Belichick's always preached, keep everything in-house, don't get involved in anything outside Patriots organization. And here's Belichick's letter being read to the nation just before the presidential election. So they were all over him about that. And, Gronk all over Belichick, Slater all over Belichick.
I'm surprised Matthew Slater said what he said about that.
Yeah, he's all over Belichick, and I wonder how their relationships are now after this has come out, what they're going to be like going forward over the next few years. I would say Gronk and Belichick. I wonder if Belichick would even speak to Gronk at this point, and I wonder if Belichick is going to be at Brady's event.
I think so.
In June, right?
So.
Was it in June? Isn't it? Yeah. I think we're going to be going to that. You got to be there for
hope
that.
So.
Yeah. So I've got a lot more to say about this, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
I was shocked by some of, some historic. I'm gonna call them historic Patriots. I had to say, because while Danny Amendola doesn't have the stats, he's had some incredibly clutch catches. The touchdown against the Jaguars at the very end to seal the win.
Belichick. He does not like Bill Belichick.
I mean,
we work for Bill. We play for
McCourty.
Tom.
Also, Devin McCourty said
he's had some negative things too.
But here's the thing: I don't think it's negative, and people really despise this series. And I think it's because they have expectations. They had this type of mentality that Belichick. We heard some rumors, but they never were true, or no one heard about it because Belichick liked to keep everything inside. And now everything's come out, and they're all saying this is a hit piece on Belichick. How about it's just revealing what the Patriots were? Revealing what the situation was in the building. We heard about these rumors and these reports that this was going on. We heard 2017 when Belichick tried to get rid of Brady the same way he tried to, get rid of Drew Bledsoe. And the reason why he got fired at the Browns was getting rid of their quarterback. He was trying to do the same thing in New England, except this time everybody knew that it was a massive mistake because he had the greatest quarterback of all time on his team and thought it'd be a good idea to get off him early. That's not what you do. You ride at least that guy out into the sunset and say, you know what, we'll get rid of him or he'll retire when he's bad. Belichick tried to get rid of him. Not the best look. So I think while people think this is a hit piece, and you know what, the honest truth is, it doesn't paint Belichick in the best of light, but when did Belichick ever paint himself in the good light? Wouldn't speak to media, hates the media. Never. He trashed Brady, put Brady in not great light after Deflategate. He doesn't answer anybody's questions. So when does he paint himself in a good light? We heard Spygate, massive hit to his character. He wanted to, and that's why maybe Deflategate, he wanted to, veer everything away from himself. But he never put himself in the best light. So why should we think about him in the best light? His personality was zero in front of the media, talking to reporters, on radio shows. People think he's going to be a great TV personality if he gets into TV. Maybe. But we see with some really reputable Patriots players, Devin McCourty, Probably one of the best safeties, at least in Patriots history. Very nice guy. He's spoken highly of Belichick most of the time. Matthew Slater, who Belichick called the greatest special teams player in NFL history, he spoke truthfully about Belichick. Wes Welker had a great number of seasons with Belichick. He spoke poorly about him. Danny Amendola had a couple nice catches, like I said, spoke poorly about him. Gronk, the best tight end in NFL history, didn't speak highly of him. Brady had a couple quotes where you could definitely take it like, oh, he was pissed. Like he in those moments did not like Belichick. So while people call it a hit piece, in my mind, it's first of all, like I said, the Dynasty is a horrible title. Misleading, bad. So
let's bash Bill.
If you went into it with the expectation that this was going to be, a nostalgia run, Super Bowl to Super Bowl, the downside, but how they turned it around in the best franchise, go watch Brady's Man in the Arena. He goes through all of his 10 Super Bowls. That's on ESPN Plus. Go watch that. But this was simply about between Belichick, Kraft, and Brady. This is what they focused on. And I think we heard these rumors about Belichick, and we've heard this, that. I think this is just a lot of those situations coming to light. And if that paints Bill in a bad spot, who else does he have to blame but himself? Because he's the one who did this.
Well, I think I always knew there was some friction between the two. They talked about it a little bit in the media, but I didn't realize it was to the extent that this documentary paints it out to be. And maybe it isn't. Maybe it wasn't quite that much as the documentary makes out to be. But Brady is there kind of confirming most of it. I mean, he didn't deny any of it. Yeah. He didn't deny it. He didn't go after Belichick the way some of the other players did.
He's never going to do that.
He's never going to do that because I do think he respects Belichick.
No, absolutely. He 100% does. He said several times that if he didn't have Belichick, he wouldn't be the player he was.
That's true. And I think that he would have, if Belichick could have backed away a little bit, just a little bit, backed off just a little bit and said, you know what? I'm getting close to 70 years old. We've had good success. My years I don't have that many years left. I'm going to let Brady play it out. Let Brady play it out and be a Patriot for life. It might have gotten one more Super Bowl because Brady went and won the Super Bowl at Tampa Bay the next year.
Yeah, but Tampa was so much better than the Patriots were at that time.
Yeah.
So much. Like 29. And that's the weird thing. One of the lasting thoughts I had of this series was they never showed the 2019 season. Or anything that happened.
Nothing about it.
It went from Super Bowl 53 immediately to March
of
16 of 2020 when Brady went over to Kraft's house to tell him that he won't be a Patriot anymore. And then we heard the quote in episode 10 that even if Brady played till 50, he was not going to re-sign another contract. And honestly, as we saw in the series, Brady was done with Belichick and the Patriots after that Super Bowl loss against the Eagles. He was done.
Yeah, but he won a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl, correct, and that's why Kraft kept him on for at least after Brady left, or after that 2018 season. That's why Kraft kept him on because he had a defensive virtuoso against one of the best offenses in the NFL in recent memory. They averaged 33 points a game, and Belichick held them to 3. So, because of that performance,
he kept him on. He told Brady that Belichick would be there for multiple years.
Because there was no real reason to get rid of Belichick at that time.
That's right.
There was no evidence that Belichick can't coach anymore, or he can't develop a team anymore because they just won the Super Bowl. We see now, after the fact, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, rosters horrible, or at least underperforming. Players aren't playing that well offensively. Belichick just seemed disconnected from the rest of the NFL. And it was time to go. Right. What I do think, though, and obviously the series should have ended later because all we got was Brady's comeback to New England week 1 against the Eagles, that halftime where he gave a very, very nice speech or whatever the case may be. And then all we got is a little credit screen of Belichick and Kraft parted on January 11th or whatever the date it was. February 11th it would be, I believe. So that's all we got. That's all we got. I would have preferred it if we can get other, because I know Belichick, after getting fired, would not be a part of the series anymore. If we at least got a message from Kraft about it, that would probably be a nice ending. a message from Brady, because Brady, even after Belichick got fired, he was shocked they didn't get picked up by another team. If we had some sort of message besides a little graphic,
they leave
it's a little bit
themselves
better.
opportunity for a sequel.
What's the sequel?
The sequel is
Failure after failure?
Yeah, right. That would be the name of it.
Yeah. I mean, so they got the Patriots fans in by calling it the Dynasty and putting a little bit of hype to it, where they showed, the great Super Bowl moments and some, problematic situations. But to call it the Dynasty doesn't give justice to what the Patriots did for 20 seasons, because that's not what this focused on. It focused on the relationships between players, Kraft, and Belichick. And then it ended, obviously, with Brady, Belichick, and Kraft. So, missed title completely, but it is based off the book, The Dynasty, so I don't know how much, you probably want to keep that the same or at least similar. But
I guess,
I think it's
maybe
mistitled.
the Dynasty name is the foundation that created all of the interactions and, personality conflicts that resulted. Because all that winning, being a dynasty, is what created the huge egos that existed, particularly with Belichick. It's slanted maybe some, but it does paint Belichick in not a very good light. And I think it makes, for anybody who watches that thinking, we have a franchise here, we're looking for a new coach. Let's go listen to what this documentary says about how Belichick conducted himself through 20 years of having the greatest quarterback in NFL history, greatest player in NFL history playing for him, and how he treated him. They did win 6 Super Bowls. I guess the results are what matters the most. Winning is what it's all about in the NFL. But, after the 17 season, when they lost to the Eagles, they said the players were anxious to get out of there.
Yeah.
They just said that the tension there was just unbelievable. There was no joy. There was no happiness in the locker room. It was just very cold and calculating.
Well, I mean, by the way, Eric Rowe, I believe, was technically the replacement. There was a couple players in that I've never even heard of in my life.
Eric Rowe is not a bad player, actually. He's still playing.
But that season, like during that playoff run, he was not a good defensive back whatsoever. And you're going to place a guy who played over 1,100 snaps, number 2 on his team. You're going to replace him with a guy that was young and hasn't played much. Because of, I believe Wickersham said that Butler and Patricia got into something. Kraft says he heard that it was personal between Butler and Belichick. We'll never get the answer, because in reality, there's one person in the entire universe that knows why Malcolm Butler got benched, and that's Bill Belichick. He's the only person in the entire world who knows that.
Well, Butler says he doesn't understand it.
Nobody does.
If there was something personal between Belichick and Butler, then why wouldn't Butler know what it is? Butler should know what it is. He should have said, this is the personal issue that Bill Belichick and I had. But he didn't. He didn't say anything about that. So how does Kraft come away thinking that? That's really odd.
He said that's what he was told.
It's really odd. By who? He wouldn't say.
I mean, that's the thing about journalism. Most of the time, you're not going to hear who actually says it. A source. An unnamed source. An anonymous source. Sources say. You're not going to hear it. And also put that person on blast. And maybe, since Belichick's known to be petty like this, if he's close to Belichick, could ruin a relationship. We saw with Eric Mangini. Eric Mangini still regrets doing the Spygate. And, supposedly 2008, Belichick was going to, get into a physical altercation with Mangini. So, I mean, you think it's a smart idea if Kraft went out and said it? Say, oh yeah, by the way, this person told me. You think it's smart for him to name drop like that?
Probably not.
It's not
the best thing.
It's not a good look.
No, not a good look, and not fair to the person who told him.
Right.
I guess, yeah.
Because maybe it's not true.
Yeah. Well, it's a fascinating documentary. I think it was well done. It's a lot of food for thought. We'll be thinking about it more. I'll watch 8 and 9 again. I watched every episode at least twice, and I think that it just gives another angle on the Patriots' success and the the unraveling of the relationship between Belichick and Brady. I can remember back when Jimmy G got the starts, when Brady was suspended, that Belichick at one point said, they asked him about Garoppolo being in there playing, and he said, and between him and Brady, and he said it's seamless. And I always thought that meant they were getting ready to trade Garoppolo.
Trade Garoppolo?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that meant. But it wasn't. He really was. He was, his goal was to say goodbye to Brady.
Well,
because
Kraft
he thought
said,
he was too old. But I think the too old thing to me is sour grapes and it's ego because Brady played great.
Yeah.
And Brady said, I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my whole football career. So what difference did it make that he was 39 years old? The actions speak louder than words or your age. If you can put the stats up and you still have it, then what difference does it make that you're 39 years old? And eventually they were talking about Brady. There was a constant talk of him, how old he was and whether he was going to, suddenly fall off a cliff and be terrible. Eventually they stopped talking about it. In fact, he could have played another year and nobody would have said anything about his age. They really wouldn't because he continued to put up huge stats and win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all that matters in the NFL, winning.
Yeah. Well,
if you're a winner, you keep playing no matter how old you are. And he proved it. He proved it. He played till he was 45 years old.
He didn't look great in that season, but he did play. He put up 4,000 yards. He didn't look great.
I thought he had more than that.
He had like 4,200 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
So not that many more, but still, it's.
He had the most attempts that year.
Well, he had back-to-back most attempts in the league because they had no run game. But that season that they tried to trade Brady, he put up 505 yards in a Super Bowl, which is the most in a playoff game in NFL history. 505. And Belichick thought that Brady was washed, which I think you can go back to that moment. Was it he tried to get rid of Kozar and that's what got him fired, or he tried to replace whatever quarterback he had with Kozar?
Kozar, the way he treated Kozar is what got him in such trouble out in Cleveland. They had death threats.
Right. But I think that 2017 season, it was the exact same move. Kraft apparently didn't even veto it. He just said that we're not trading Brady ever. So it's not like Brady said, please don't trade me. It was, no, we're just not trading Brady. So trade it. And a lot of people were saying that Kraft told Belichick, trade Garoppolo instead of Brady.
Yeah.
According to Kraft, he just said, we're not trading Brady. Yeah. He never said you got to get off of Garoppolo.
Right. He also said we're bringing back Guerrero.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a big issue between Belichick and Brady, Guerrero.
Yeah. But the reason why I bring up Kozar is because I think that 2017 season, because of that move, Belichick never learned his lesson, trying to get rid of the beloved quarterback. It worked 1 out of 3 times. 1 out of 3. I think that 2017 season was when he got fired. Because tension was, like, he separated himself from Brady on a personal level. Players talked about the tension in the air. I think that in that 2017 season, Belichick essentially got fired.
Yeah, well, Kraft said that he holds Belichick accountable for the loss to the Eagles.
I think everybody should.
Yeah. I mean,
Doug Peterson
Butler
outcoached them.
Yeah.
Nick Foles had a tremendous... Nick Foles we're talking about. Yeah. Had a tremendous game.
And the defense fell apart, and they wouldn't put Malcolm Butler in there.
I think he played 1 special team snap that entire game. I think that was it. He didn't play a single defensive snap. Brady threw 505 yards. By the way, Belichick got Philly specialed, which is still... one of the best plays in Super Bowl history by a large number of people believe that. That's against Belichick's defense. So, in my opinion, that 2017 season, Belichick got fired because he did the same thing he's done twice previously. And this time, it didn't go through. And honestly, best decision was to get rid of Garoppolo. And what I found shocking, Belichick, and this is really the nail on the head, Belichick never fought for Brady to stay.
No.
Because Belichick said in the series, I think that was the best, the right and best decision at the time, was for Brady to leave.
Yeah.
Belichick didn't fight for Brady.
Yeah. Well, he always said that he was doing it for the best of the team, but I do think he let his ego get in the way. And I think
He let his ego get in the way since Brady left, trying to say it was the same thing Brady said. I could do it without you. Turns out you can't.
Wow.
So, I believe that wraps up today's show. For those watching the Big East tournament, St. John's was an 89-81, about 3 minutes left in the game. Not looking good. I already threw in the bag. I doubt he's watching, but Christian, congratulations, you won the bet again.
Well,
Rough
it's
year.
not over yet.
It's been over.
7 points.
It's been over. It was 4 points to end the half, but it's just a back and forth of just pain. It's painful. So yeah, congratulations to UConn. You're moving on to the, I believe, the final of the Big East tournament. Probably gonna win it. This is a tremendous UConn team. So, St. John's, they might get into the tournament. I hope they do. Played UConn relatively close. But yeah, for this episode of the Harvey Hour, we thank you for watching. We'll be back Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. My name's Stephen Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Like I said, Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We will see you right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.